beauty babes, welcome to my channel. I'm Maria, aka Agape Love Girl. Thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today I want to do a little kind of comparison video. I got recently the Naked Cherry Urban Decay Naked Cherry palette and then the collection as well, and I've been playing around with it for the last week, and I'm actually filming this before my overview video goes live. I haven't even filmed that yet. This is kind of just like in preparation for that video, but I'm gonna actually try to put that video up before this one. But anyway, so I got the collection and I've been playing around with some of the items and the palette mostly, and kind of want to get a feel for it before I come on camera and share my thoughts and things like that, as I usually do. One of my thoughts that I had while playing around with it is that it seemed very similar to the Backtalk palette. Now, they're not exactly identical, and there are less shadows in the Backtalk palette. I'm just going to pull it out right here to show you, to remind those of you of the Backtalk palette here. And let me show you the Naked Cherry palette. And you can kind of see how they're pretty similar. Right here, they're kind of pretty similar in tones, but the Backtalk palette does have less, a couple less shadows, so you're getting a little bit more variety here with the Cherry palette. So what I was going to do today was use the Backtalk palette on one eye and the Naked Cherry palette on the other eye, and see if we can create a similar look. I was just gonna do this today as part of like getting ready, and then I thought, you know what, maybe I should just film this and have that to go to like reference to, or maybe post later after I do my overview. And after I do this, they might be completely different. They might not be close at all, but we're gonna find that out together today. Now, this look will most likely be a lot more of a simple look. I just want to really test and see if we can get kind of a similar look with each palette. But it'll have to be a little bit more similar because we only have 8 shadows to work with in the Backtalk palette versus 12, I believe, in the Naked Cherry palette. So of course you are going to get a little bit more variety in the Cherry palette. But again, this isn't necessarily about like one being better than the other, just kind of comparing the colors. But anyways, this is just something I was curious about and wanted to try, and so I'm just going to be here filming it. And then I guess at the end I'll probably wrap up with some thoughts that I might have, and so let's just get into it. So I'm going to start off first with the Backtalk palette. That is going to be on my left. I'll put the Cherry palette on my right. So Backtalk palette, I'm going to start off first with a transition shade. And so for a transition shade, it looks like the two most similar from each palette would be Backtalk from the Backtalk palette and then Feels from the Cherry palette. So to do that, I'm going to just be applying that with my Stilazzi crease blender brush, and I'm just going to kind of wipe it off in between on a towel as I go back and forth. So again, this is the shade Backtalk. And if I remember correctly about my feelings about the Backtalk palette, is that I was really, really impressed with the mattes, which I am just in general with Urban Decay mattes. I love their matte shadows, but I wasn't so impressed with the metallics from this palette because I felt like they're just, they're so hard pressed. They're not as soft and easy to work with, and need like a really sticky base to get some color to show through. And with the Cherry palette, I will say I feel like I like the formula of these a little better. They are a little bit softer, the mattes and the shimmers actually. Anyways, I'm cleaning off that brush, and now I'm going to go into the Cherry palette and go in with the shade Feels. Alright, and first off, it looks like the Backtalk shade is a little bit more pigmented. Alright, I'll do just a second layer, just like I did. The color really does look super similar though. Does that look about the same? I feel like it's still a little bit lighter on this side, so I'm just going to build it up just a little bit more. And the thing is, I believe that all the shades in the Cherry palette are supposed to be all brand new. And not that I don't think they're not brand new, but it's like when you have so many eyeshadows and so many eyeshadow palettes, like it's really hard to create like completely new shadows. Even if they are new and slightly different, they're similar enough to each other. So, and that's no shade to Urban Decay or anything like that. It's just You know, it's hard to come up with new colors when you have so many already out there. So I think that looks about the same. So next up, let's see. Now this is where it'll be a little bit harder because I would like to deepen up my outer corner, but the Backtalk palette doesn't have quite as deep of a matte shades. They have this one, WTF, but there isn't a matching matte one in the Cherry palette. So what I think I'm going to do is just go ahead and go into 180, which is a shimmery shade, and use that to deepen up, because then we have over here with the Cherry palette the shade Drunk Dial, which is looks in the pan at least somewhat similar. 180 looks to be a little bit more brown tone, where Drunk Dial looks to be a little bit more of a burgundy, like reddish tone, but we'll see if we can get this to work. So I'm just going to take that with a smaller blending brush. This is my Smith 230 brush, so I'm going to go into the Backtalk palette 180 and bring that to my outer corner. For blending, this metallic shade actually looks really nice. And funny enough, I think I only did one video with the Backtalk palette. It was a first impressions and a tutorial, and I remember saying that like I liked the palette, but I wasn't like way impressed by it. But funny enough is that after that, the Backtalk palette became my kind of go-to palette, my daily go-to palette for a couple of months. I never really mentioned it because I was always doing different looks on camera, but off camera, that was the palette that I actually gravitated towards and used a lot and got a lot of use out of it. Okay, that built up really nicely, which I'm not surprised, I'm just saying. And now I'm going to wipe that off, and then I'm going to go into the Cherry palette, and I'm going to go into the shade Drunk Dial, which I'm kind of feeling a little bit nervous now because it definitely does look a little bit more reddish or purpley brown, but it's okay. I don't have really like anywhere to go, so if my look looks completely different, it's all good. So what I'm noticing is that this one's a little bit darker, and I feel like showing up a little bit more pigmented. This one's a little bit more shimmery, so I don't want to say that it's not pigmented, it's just the shimmer showing up more, so it's making it look a little bit lighter. I think this is fine. I think I'm actually going to take those same shades and bring them to my lower lash line. Just going to grab a flat definer. This one is from Beauty Junkies, and now I'm just going to go back into Drunk Dial, bring that to my lower lash line. Just tap off the excess there. Yeah, this one's definitely a very metallic shade. It's showing up very metallic. Which it is. It's a shimmery metallic shade, so is 180, but that one's a little less shimmery, a little less metallic-y looking. Alright, now I'm going to go back into 180. I'm wiping that, just so you guys know, I probably won't keep saying it, or maybe I will, but I am wiping the brush off. I've got like this, my makeup towel in my lap, and I'm wiping that off. Go into the shade at 180. Alright, I can already tell this looks pretty different. I mean, it's similar enough if you want to create this kind of a look, but there is a difference. This is definitely a lot darker. I'm going to zoom you guys in so you can see a little bit better. So here's what we got going so far. Definitely a little bit darker, deeper on the Backtalk side. So now I'm just going to go back into those first transition shades I used. So it would be Backtalk for the Backtalk side. I'm just going to kind of diffuse that color out. And I just grabbed a random brush. This is the Morphe E17, just like a little kind of smaller pointed blending brush. So that's Backtalk. I'm liking this a lot actually on the Backtalk side. And then I'm gonna go into the shade Feels for the Cherry side. I'm gonna have to probably, there is a deeper color in Cherry, maybe I should do that, because maybe it's a matte shade. That's the only reason I didn't use it. I didn't think it was gonna match up, but I'm thinking, because this actually looks more matte once it's applied, so I wonder if I should do that. I think I might actually do that real quick just to see if I could match this up really quick. So for the cherry side, because I don't like how light this is looking, I really prefer this darker side, I'm going to go into the shade Privacy. Just dip it in. I know this is like a slightly different step that I'm taking, but I want to match it up with the other side, so I'm going to do that. And I guess if I have both of those, the shade Drunk Dial and Privacy, it's somewhat of a match. It's a little bit of a darker, but it still has that shimmer there. Okay, that's more of a match for sure. And then I'm just gonna dip a little bit in of Privacy here too, just to deepen that up. So alright, look at that. It looks a lot more like a match. Alright, so now I think what I'm gonna do, I told you we're gonna keep this simple, is do a lid shade. And now I just have to kind of decide which shade to do, because it looks like there are two that kind of can sync up. We have Turn On from the Cherry palette, which looks very similar to Bare, either Bare or Curve, but I'm thinking Bare definitely is more of a match. Or maybe kind of like Turn On is a mixture of Bare and Curve from the Backtalk palette. But either way, that's kind of similar. And then next, I think that Young Love is very similar to the shade from the Backtalk palette. And Young Love actually looks somewhat like a mixture of Shade and Attitude, which are from the Backtalk palette. So if I need to, I could always just maybe mix those two shades together and see. Sorry, I'm just looking down and kind of messing with the swatches. So I think what I want to do is go for the shade Young Love and then shade from the Backtalk palette. And this will be kind of like a chocolate cherry kind of a look. I'm going to be using this shadow fluff brush from Stilazzi. Normally these aren't the type of brushes I like to use for my lid, but I've been using this a lot for the cherry palette and I really like it. And I think I mentioned this in the beginning of the video already, I have been needing to spray my shadows to really get them to pop, but I'm going to apply it first without any setting spray or any extra primer or anything, just so you guys can see how they apply, and then I'll most likely spray it afterwards. I'm just going to apply that all over my lid. Oh, this shade's actually applying really nicely. Some of the other shades I was using when I've been testing out this palette have not been, they don't go on, I feel like they go on better definitely than what I remember from the Backtalk palette, but just not as poppy as I want them to, so that's really pretty. Okay, so I'm just going to keep blending and sweeping it onto the lid. I think I'm still going to spray it, because I still would like it to pop just a little bit more than it is right here. I'm just going to lay this base down first. Actually, and maybe I'll wait to spray it until after I put on the Backtalk side. But that's what that's looking like. So wiping off this brush, now I'm going to go into the shade from the Backtalk palette. And I'm just going to see how that looks first. I might need to kind of add a touch of the shade Attitude as well to see if I could get it to match up better. But first, I'm going to apply this. This is actually applying way better than I remember it as well. And oh my gosh, these shades look almost exactly alike. Maybe it's this brush. This brush has been doing a really good job with shimmers lately. Shimmery metallic-y shades. Okay, definitely, I don't know if you guys can tell on camera. I might need to zoom in. Let me zoom in. These shades are actually really, really similar. This shade definitely looks a little bit more shimmery, a little bit more maybe foiled-ish, or just a little bit more shimmery. This shade definitely leads a little bit more red as well, where this one is just a little bit more purple. This is why I was thinking maybe I can add an Attitude to match it up a little bit better, but I think I'm just going to leave it like this because they're super, super similar as it is. I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and add a touch of Attitude real quick, just lightly. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there is a frog in my room. I hear a frog in the vent of my room. Okay, so a touch of Attitude over top. Trying to see how it looks in the viewfinder. That's really similar. I think this one's a little bit lighter still. But yeah, that's like a really similar look, you guys. Alright, and I do still want to spray this, so I'm just grabbing a little bit more of Young Love on the brush, and then I'm going to spray it just to make it pop a little bit more. I don't know if you could tell, but it just makes it look more foiled, a little bit more metallic. It just looks prettier. It just deepens it up. Alright, and then cleaning that off, I'm going to go back into shade and just kind of get a little bit of both shade and then Attitude here. Just kind of mix them both. And then I'm going to spray that and apply that to the Backtalk side. They look almost identical in my human eyes. I'm not sure how it's translating on the on film here, on camera here, but that's pretty darn close. Alright, really quickly, the next couple of things that I'm going to do is just kind of go back into that outer corner shade and deepen that up, and then I'll most likely go back in with the first transition shade I did and do a little bit more blending and softening up, but I'm probably just going to go ahead and speed right through that just so we're not here for too long, but I just want to let you know that's what I'm going to be doing. And so for the cherry palette side, I'm just going to go ahead and do a mix of the shade Privacy and Drunk Dial just to get that better combination of the shade to match. And then I will go in with 180 on the Backtalk side. Alright, now just because I'm super similar about two other shades that are kind of similar, I'm going to use those for my inner corner and kind of brow bone highlight, even though I already had a little bit of highlight on from my face. But I'm just going to check out the shades Bare, right here, Bare in the Backtalk palette versus the shade Turn On in the, right here, Turn On in the Cherry palette. So Turn On from the Cherry palette. Popping that into my inner corner. Alright, this one has a little bit more of a pinky hue to it than it looks like in the pan. Alright, and then I'm going to go into Bare. I wonder if even Curve might be some. I might have to mix these two, but first I'm going to try Bare. I know that's actually pretty similar. I feel like the biggest difference in these palettes is that while the shades are similar, the Cherry palette is just a lot more poppy. Like I'm getting a lot more of a metallic, shimmery quality to them. That's the only thing I could think to describe it. Whereas these are just a little bit like lackluster, not quite what I'm expecting for like a poppy metallic shade. And these are, the Cherry side's kind of giving it to me. But this shade actually looks very, very similar as well. I'm really surprised. I'm surprised but not surprised. But I don't know if you guys can see what I mean. In person though, this is just a little bit more poppy, a little bit more shiny, I guess is what I can describe it as, whereas this has the shine but not as much. It's just the quality is just a little bit, like this is just a little bit more of a lackluster version of this side. Alright, and that's kind of it for this look. I told you it was going to be pretty simple. I just really wanted to test the colors side by side. I'm going to go ahead and put on some mascara, put some brow gel in my brows, and then I will come back to show you guys the completed look and maybe some final thoughts. Alright guys, I am back and this is the completed look. And now that I have mascara on and kind of completed the look, like honestly looking at myself, I cannot tell a difference whatsoever. I'm not sure how you guys will be able to see it, but yeah, I think that it's pretty darn similar. Again, the biggest thing is that this is just a little bit, has a little bit more shine to it. But it's not like super noticeable at all. So I do find that kind of interesting, but not surprising because like I said, I did feel like these two palettes were super similar. And so the purpose of this video is not to like throw shade at Urban Decay whatsoever. I kind of was just really curious, and since I had both, I wanted to do this, and I just figured it might be informational for those of you who are maybe already have this and were thinking about getting this. I will say that if I had to compare the two, I definitely feel like I like the Naked Cherry palette more, just because these were, the shimmers in here are just a little bit lackluster to me. It's not a huge difference, it's not a huge deal, but I do feel like the Cherry palette is just like they have a little bit softer of a formula, and I just feel like are a little bit easier to work with. But pigmentation wise and color selection wise, they're pretty much the exact same. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with this, since I just decided to film this video just kind of like randomly off the cuff, just decided I'm gonna film this. So I don't have any like gathered thoughts whatsoever. Hey guys, I just want to pop in real quick. I've had a little bit more time to think about this and just want to kind of share more thought out thoughts with you guys. So basically, I think that if you already have the Backtalk palette and felt like you possibly wanted the Cherry palette but were unsure, I honestly think you can pass on it without that FOMO feeling, knowing that there are a few very similar shades in the palette that you already own. On the flip side, if you wanted the Backtalk palette but you missed out on it, I think that getting the Cherry palette would be a great alternative. You're getting similar shades, more variety, and a better formula in my opinion. Another alternative is that if you can still find the Backtalk palette sold in Sephora stores somewhere, it may be a cheaper alternative to the Cherry palette. You can see that it's still available online at Sephora and it's marked down to $23, but it says it's sold out, so you can't buy it online. And I'm not sure if it even would be available in stores, but that's just something to consider. And then yet another alternative is that if you look on the Urban Decay website, the Backtalk palette does still seem to be available for purchase online there. However, it is the full price of $46, which is still cheaper than the Cherry palette, but not by much. The Cherry palette is actually only $49, which is cheaper than most other Naked palettes at $54. So anyways, those are just some things to consider. And I just want to say that while you're getting less variety in eyeshadows with the Backtalk palette, you are getting 2 blushes and 2 highlights, which is a nice bonus if that's the kind of thing that you're into. So either way, my point is that a person really doesn't need both of them. So if you were contemplating and wanting to make smart purchases, I really hope that you found this video helpful. I do just want to say really quickly that I do already have, well, at least I'm filming this first, so I'm kind of like, this is like future, planning for the future. I want to have my full overview of this palette and this collection up before this video goes up. And just FYI, if you haven't watched that video, watch it, because there will be a giveaway in that video. And I plan to have a little bit more information about this palette, a little bit more about my thoughts, about the color scheme. I'll go into a little bit more detail about this palette too, so if you have wanted to learn a little more just this palette, check out that video, and I'll definitely have a separate tutorial with this as well. Today's video was just kind of like I was just curious to see what happened, and this is what happened. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys found it helpful, if not entertaining. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this, you know, just if it helped you decide which one to purchase or what not to purchase or anything like that. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions and what you think about this. Let's keep it positive, you guys. Anyways, with all that being said, I just want to thank you so much for watching, and until next time, much love and hugs to you. Bye, beauty babes.